The biggest question I probably have seen over the last 6 to 9 months, especially through COVID, is how am I losing so much hair in my hairpiece? Take a look at this beautiful lady's hair, all highlighted, balayage, low light. When you take a close look, a real close look at the top, she's wearing this. She doesn't really see much hair loss. She's starting to see a little bit here. You see the little bit of hair loss that's in this area. But I'm going to show you something that's going to really amaze you. When I take this hair over to the other side, look at the amount of hair loss that is in this hairpiece. These are holes almost, not through the hair system, just that the entire hair in most of the areas have been removed. Here's some hairs that are left with just the knot and the root, as well as here. What causes this? During any kind of stress, we are scratching and we don't know that we're scratching. We get either nervous scratch or a sensitive scalp itch and we begin to scratch. And when we do that, hair comes out. I don't know if you can really see that hair, but the scratching is there. Now, I've heard this over and over again from clients. I don't scratch. I never scratch. Well, let me tell you a real story. I was in a consultation when the woman had come in and said, Jeff, I just bought this hairpiece 6 months ago. And I loved it. I spent good money for it. Everybody's giving me compliments. I love it, love it, love it. I love how I feel about myself in it. But it's faulty. It has problems. It must be the factory. It must be the factory didn't put the hair in. Now, when we examined all of the other hair in the entire hairpiece, there was no hair loss in the other areas. This specific area. Now, we have clients that over the years, we have kept some of their hairpieces when they've replaced them, and the same spot, almost like an alopecia spot, is in the same spot. And we can look under a magnifying lens and see where the knot has been lifted and where it's been scratched out, because it's being scratched and that little tiny knot eventually comes out. It doesn't take aggressiveness. It just takes the scratching, which is aggressive enough at that point. Why? Well, number one, it's most likely the scratching of your scalp just because you might be thinking, just because you're just a little nervous, or because you have a scalp irritation of some sort. It doesn't mean that you've got a scalp problem, but you could, and you should have that checked out. But the reality is that scratching is there, especially when you go into summer. Summer or winter, if it's dry, you're scratching, your scalp gets dry, or summer, your acid and alkalines are higher, so you're scratching. So it's all seasons. Hair loss like this, when you see this happening in your hair system, it is not a manufacturer issue, but in the process of checking a hairpiece in, and we go through the process of going through a quality control check and applying it and wearing it for a number of days, let's say a week or 2 weeks or even 30 days, anything that would have appeared as a manufacturer error would have happened within the quality control check, or it would have happened within a week or less. Why? Because again, the knotting is double knotted typically, and it's in there. It's really in there. But the problem is we don't realize we're scratching. Second way to lose hair in a hairpiece is your brush. Can you see that? Your brush. If you're not using a wet brush, if you're not using a brush with beads on it, you see those beads? If you're not using that, your straight plastic or your straight even boar bristle can do the same thing that scratching has done. And look, I hope you can see that on the screen, hairs come out. So let me review to this very, very costly, concerning problem question. How does my hairpiece lose this hair? And a lot of times, the reality is because it's styled over, you may not be seeing it. You come in and you may drop off your hair system to be taken care of, or you come in to have it taken off and reattached, and the stylist goes through cleaning and go through the process, and she comes back and shows you this hole that you didn't see because it's on your head typically. And you say, well, I'd see that, Jeffrey. I showed you from the very beginning. You don't see it now because it's covered with the hair. It didn't happen back in the dispensary at a salon, in a hair replacement center. It happened during the weeks that you were wearing it, the weeks that you were scratching, the weeks that possibly the relationship of the brush that you were using was causing a pulling of the hair. Third real caution is friction. Friction, more the times than not, will break the hair. That's why if you're sleeping in a hairpiece, it must be on a satin pillowcase. Absolutely. If you're traveling, take it with you, not the pillow, but the pillowcase. If in fact you have a collar, if in fact you have a hat, a headband, glasses on top of your head, all those are friction points and will eventually take away that little knot. So what causes hair loss in a hairpiece is the same type of thing that causes hair loss from stress-related hair loss on growing hair. The stress and the scratching and the brushing and any other type of friction. When somebody after 6 months has this kind of hair loss, 6 months, and that really is discouraging. But it's not manufacturer error. It's not done in the salon. It's based on what happens from 9 to 5 or from the 7 days a week of wearing hair, whether it's taking it off and putting it back on, where the scratching can still be going on and the friction can continue, or if it's the relationship of attachment where we're sleeping in it, showering in it, doing all those other things. Do you understand this problem? Take a look at your hairpiece. If you're wearing hair, take a look. And for the professionals watching this, take a look at your guest, just like you look at scalp when you're doing a haircut. Is there any abrasions? Is there any hair loss? Is there any issues to your client's scalp? Please subscribe and send us a couple likes. That'll help us because it helps us generate more ability to stretch out and reach more people. I'm Jeffrey Paul.